craft?
I believe it was 5 separate craft. That's some straight UFO shit right there.
That's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing.
I just kept filming and looking up at the sky, and it just started happening more frequently.
Look, what is that? What is that? What was that?
And Major Hector Quintanilla is now the chief of Project Blue Book. Major Quintanilla, what are the objectives of Project Blue Book?
As I'm standing there, I kind of, it's a very hard feeling to describe. Skinny arms, skinny legs, but I could only see about half of this thing.
It was just an eye-opening experience. There was a ship coming over the house.
It was like a white light sort of thing that we saw. It was coming out of a cloud.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Desmond, and welcome to today's show. Man, it's going to be a good one today. I can't wait. We've been waiting for this Mr. Gentleman to be coming here. I put it out earlier today. I hope you guys saw it out today when I put that little quickie podcast that I put out there today. You know, because I want you guys to meet this gentleman, man. You have to meet him. You have to meet him. I want you to ask questions, because this guy. He's the guy. He's the guy, all right? So his name's Mike Fiorito, all right? And he wrote this book called For All We Know, all right? So before we get going, I want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. I'm glad you're part of the ufology and everything that goes around with the unknown, Bigfoot, all that good stuff that happens out here. Hey, man, you guys are a part of it. Go visit us at Alien Strand Extras. Go check us out there, man. I hope you guys really, go out there. And we just got a new podcast out the other day, man. And then you have to go check it out, right? We have merch. So this past podcast was called War Underground, right? You can only find it on Patreon. So Shannon's out there. Hey, Shannon, how you doing? Thank you for sticking around and watching tonight. You know, if you guys can, go watch this podcast on Patreon. Go visit us there. It's free. There's a free one there. This one's not free, unfortunately. It probably will be here in a couple of days. I didn't say that, and you didn't hear it from me. But yeah, you heard it from me. So you know what? That's probably what's going to happen there. So because it's such a really good one, and I think you guys should see that podcast. You know, I give it a lot of information about the Alaska, the Black Pyramids, things that happen underground, all that good stuff, and secret societies and all that good stuff. So that comes out on that one on Patreon. Go visit us there. Please give us a like there, and just follow us there. It's great. It's a great app, man. Tonight's podcast, all right? So he's a book author. We're going to visit here in a minute. Great guy. You had a few minutes to talk with him here for a little bit. But, hey, you guys have to meet him. You got any questions to ask, while we're talking about his book, his recent book here. It's called For All We Know. We're going to get him on in here just a second. Don't forget, catch our middle tetralogy. Now, you saw the commercials at the very beginning of this, the middle part 1, part 2. Part 3 is going to be coming out already, all right? So you can find that at the Skylight channel. Go there, Skylight 1. You can find it on Facebook, or just go to all my links. I click a little link there. It says all my links, and then it'll take you to all of these Donald Desmond, ASDP. It'll take you to all the movies. It'll take you everything. So you need to go and check out that all my links. That way, instead of digging and looking for them, you can just find it there. Or just Google Skylight One channel. You'll find the movies there, right? So, of course, the middle part one, go check it out. Still on Tubi TV, or, Amazon. It's on TCL channel. It's not on Thrills anymore, but it's on Rewarded. All these good hooplas. Man, it's just, and we just grew 2 more channels. Man, how does that happen? You know why? Because they like it. They like the information, and that's the good thing about it. Of course, we're waiting for it to come out on Prime. It'll be out on Prime pretty soon. Don't forget, follow us on Alien Strand Disclosure Project, man. You have to follow us there, too. If you guys want to learn ufology or want to learn a little bit deeper about things maybe that's happening to you, go there, man. Go find us on Facebook. We're a private group, but as soon as you guys, fill out all the questionnaires, all the good stuff, we'll get you in, man. That's just how it works. Make sure you fill it all out, because if you don't, you're going to get booted out, and then you're going to have to do it all over again. It's not that we're being mean. It's just that we have to dot the dots and cross the T's. That's just how it is, man, in this business. You have to do that kind of stuff. So, I hope, like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying tonight's podcast. And, we're going to talk to the gentleman here in a minute. And he's got a lot of information about, he's an author. He's books. He's open-minded. He has a lot of good information too as well. So let's go ahead and bring him on in. His name's Mike Fiorito. Let's go ahead and talk to him now.
Hey, Donald.
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. Thank you for being on the show today, brother. I really appreciate you. And this is how I found you, right? So I was kind of going through a couple of UFO groups and things like that, and I saw your book pop up, right? And you said, hey, man, you want to check it out? Give me a holler. And I sent you a nice message. Hey, man, you sent me that book pretty quick. Thank you for that. I really appreciate you for that. And, because I told you that we were talking back and forth on instant messenger. I love having a book in my hand. It's just, that's just the
totally
way it is.
get it.
That's just the way it is. And I read a lot of it too on the PDF format as well. But, let's talk about you a little bit. How did all this begin for you as far as like writing books and things like that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, I really thank you for having me on. It's great to be here, and you're an exciting and fun host. So I think we're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
So I started writing. I've always been a writer. I have not that it reflects so much in the writing, but I have a master's degree in English.
Right on.
But I started writing. There are a lot of people with master's degrees in English and people that want to write. I started to write, and then I started to submit my writing. Right. And a miraculous thing happened. It started to get accepted. So I was kind of writing, I would say, science fiction.
Okay.
And there was a lot of kind of personal memoir-ish type of things, like what you see in For All We Know, which reads like a memoir. We'll talk about that. Anyway, I started to submit writing. More and more writing got accepted until, frankly, I couldn't keep track of it. And what I started to do as well is to write on a theme. So I would write on a wrapping around, so say science fiction.
Right.
I would submit a story, it would get accepted. Submit another story, it get accepted. And these are different magazines. At some point, because I was plotting it as, well, write thematically so that you can accumulate the stories and they may interconnect. Lo and behold, you have a book.
Right.
And I did this for a few subject matter areas. You'll see I've written about science fiction. I have I would say the underlying current of all the work is music. So Mescalito riding his white horse, that came out last year. Okay. And that's actually, I would say the idea of that book is where bluegrass meets Buddhism. And so I'd done a lot of, as I was writing, I then
he froze up there for a second. Probably have to sign back in.
Reviews.
Oh, there he goes.
I was lost for a minute.
Yeah.
I literally did like restaurant reviews, but I started to do music journalism.
Okay.
And as you read in the book, there's a lot of music in the book. But the music.
We're losing you a little bit there, brother. I think we lost him just for a second there. Yep, we might have lost him just for a minute. So he'll come back on here just a second. Hopefully we can get it. If you can hear me, just log back out and try logging back in. I think you're in a bad spot there. But as he was talking, about what was happening, about his books and what he's writing about, we have had a few authors on our podcast here before, right? And we had Leslie and Mike Shaw. They had a book called it was called Who They Are, right? And they were great people that were on the podcast that came on, and and then we had when I first started podcasting, let me tell you this real quick. When I first started podcasting in 2019, I had this gentleman. His name is Daniel Cross. His publisher reached out to me, and he had a book called Bent Heavens, right? And he helped write the book, The Shape of Water, right? Remember the movie, The Shape of Water? So with Guillermo del Toro, right? And so he helped write that book. So he reached out to me. We had an interview, and you'll see it. It's one of my beginning podcasts with him, and that was a great interview because we just don't always talk about UFOs and extraterrestrials. We talk with these authors that have these interesting stories as well about, even if it's fiction, it's okay, but the ideas came from somewhere, right? And that's what this gentleman today we're going to talk a little bit about. Hopefully he pops back in. I think he's got a bad connection where he's at. It was working earlier. I don't know what happened on his part, but we'll get him back on here in a second. And then we had another author. It was called Abducted and Furious with Lisa O'Hara. We had her on. I don't know if you guys remember that as well. She had some stories of things that were happening to her in her house. It was true stories, and she wrote a book about it. You can even find her on Facebook, and her Facebook page is called Abducted and Furious. And she was a great guest on our show too. She was an author too. And I had one called Mysteries, Prophecies, and the Hollow Earth with Paul Gorman. I don't know if you remember that one. Good one too, man. We've had authors on here, and they talk about the deeper parts of dimensions, things like that, of how they get a lot of these ideas of these books and things like that, right? So of course now today we have, for all we know, we lost him for a second. Are you back? Oh, I think we got him back in the background. Okay, so let's go ahead and get him back in, and that way we can finish talking to him here real quick. There we go.
Hey there, I have no idea what happened. I think someone was trying to interfere with my communication.
Uh-oh. It's okay. So you were talking about your books here. Yeah, I think we lost him again. I think somebody's interfering with your communication. There he is. Are you back on?
This is so weird. I work from home, and I'm writing and talking to people all around the world, and I'm getting hit now. So,
oh wow. Well, welcome to Ufology and the Live podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's no worries.
Yeah, right.
But that's what happens. But we were talking about your books here. We got you back on. Let's see if it'll go through now.
Yes, I'll talk a little bit about them. So I've been doing a lot of music journalism, and I don't know if you have bluegrass listeners out there, but I did an interview with Peter Rowan. He's a legend in bluegrass. He played with Bill.
Yep, we lost him again. Probably going to have to move, and he's probably going to have to move. There he goes. Now he's back on again.
Yeah, gosh, I'm so sorry. But anyway, I started to do a lot of music journalism, and as I was researching for the Mescalito book, to be honest with you, I picked up The Flip by Jeff Kripal. Have you read that book?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, that's an awesome book. And Jeff Kripal, I would say that I was probably like most people. I believed in sentient beings and in non-human sentience. I believed and expected that there are intelligent beings in the universe. I just didn't really know much about ufology.
Right.
I read that book, The Flip, and Jeff is a professor of religion. Okay. He wrote the blurb for the book. And I would say that Jeff framed the ufology concept in a way for me that was very sober. It was very I could understand it. And basically where he comes from is questioning, why is mainstream science not exploring these phenomena?
Right.
I mean, if you see something you don't understand it, why discard it?
Right.
Why not say, well, we don't understand it, let's keep an open mind? And I read that book, and I have to tell you, Donald, I probably read 50 books or something. My wife was getting nervous because the procession of books coming in the house was kind of scaring her.
Wow.
If I turned my video, you'd see the bookshelves here.
Yeah.
And I'm a writer, so I was ingesting these ideas, and I wanted to create a narrative.
Okay.
So a lot of the ecology books out there, they're nonfiction books.
Right.
And there's nonfiction or speculative nonfiction. There's a kind of broad range, but there isn't a lot of narrative. Yes, you may have people they're going to tell a personal story. And though there are those kinds of narratives, I wanted to write something that connected the phenomena to not just a UFO, a kind of a traditional shiny metallic object. I wanted to connect it to everyday living.
Right.
The experience, watching someone die.
Right.
And how that connects you to something transcendent. Right. How that connects you to the continuity of life.
Yeah, it taps into something in your psyche a little bit. You know what I mean? When you start going a little bit down the rabbit hole in a sense, but you start opening your consciousness a little bit more when you start reading other people's things about the consciousness.
Yeah, and like you said in your film, The Middle, by the way, beautiful cinematography. Really loved watching it. It's just a great film to watch, and the characters are great. So there's the great content, but it's also just enjoyable to watch.
Thank you.
I also wanted to, bring people into the spiritual journey. You'll see that in For All We Know. There's a spiritual journey. The character, it's kind of thinly veiled me. I would still consider it, I wanted to have the latitude to write as fiction.
Right.
And it's also published by a mainstream publisher. It's published by Loyola Press.
Oh, nice.
So I wanted to, create a character that didn't believe everything, doesn't trust everything,
right.
Is hesitant, is skeptical. And I wanted to show the arc of how various experiences, so say, for example, psychedelic experiences,
right.
How that connects us to the phenomena. And if you go back to people like Terence McKenna, who wrote some hysterical and amazing great books. He wrote a book called True Hallucinations, one of many. But McKenna was very much interested in how psychedelics kind of pierces that veil,
right,
and connects us to something, the other, we'll call it. It connects us in the way dreams connect us to the other,
right, in
the way trance connects us to the other, in the way music can bridge us to something bigger and deeper, like the way the glyphs in your in the middle you talked about. Those glyphs become a kind of a resonator.
Right.
Something happens to the person that's paying attention. They get a calling.
Exactly.
They get a calling and they go, down the rabbit hole. It's kind of like, the epic tale of the deer. You see the deer in the forest. They emerge out of the forest, but then you follow them and then you go in.
Right.
Now you're on a journey.
Right.
And that's kind of where I wanted to take people, and to take them to, maybe they don't believe in, maybe they're not interested in UFOs. Maybe they're not interested in flying saucers. Maybe they think it's all nonsense. I wanted to create stories that were very relatable to everyday life.
Right. Right.
That was my objective.
And you're pulling it off. Let me tell you, because I've gotten through like half of the book already, and because I was talking to you earlier about it, how I was reading it here and there little by little, but it's
awesome.
It's very intriguing though. it has the, like you said, the psychedelics, in there, and and then the heavy metal, the music and everything kind of builds together from these young boys, right? And they're kind of growing up together at the same time, right? That's pretty much what you're getting at, and I kind of looked at it in a sense, we were all young one time, right? And they're 15, 16, we were in that time to where we tried, some pot or whatever back in the day, and maybe that took us in a different level as well, right? So what you're touching base here is that what they're taking, or LSD or whatever it is, it's still it's tapping into something deeper, right? What you're trying to explain into the book, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, there's research going on right now at Johns Hopkins, at Berkeley, at NYU. People they want to talk to people who've taken psilocybin or psychedelic and have had alien encounters. They're very curious. This is so frequent. If you talk to indigenous, you read indigenous accounts, very common that there's an experience, and it's a template. I take this substance, it's a plant, it's a medicine, it's sacred, and then the ceiling drops down, and I go up into the ceiling, and I'm taken by another being to some other place that shows me amazing things, shows me a different kind of mathematics, shows me magnificent architecture and art, and teaches me, talks to me about the mysteries and the things that we're curious about. Where do we come from? What is consciousness? The very deepest aspects of who we are. So that's kind of what I was going after. I should also add that there are other ways to do this. Through I read, and I would encourage the audience here, Robert Monroe. He started the Monroe Institute, and using binaural beats, he writes about it, how binaural beats are. It's kind of, just think of rhythms,
right?
And you can do something similar with sound baths or gong yoga. And what happens is, your mind something happens in your mind that you begin to, and you're not trying. You go somewhere. Things come into your mind. Animate things, conversations begin. You go places. So there are many ways, there are many paths to access the other. In fact, it's here all the time. It's here all the time, and that's another theme of the book is we're just not paying attention.
Right.
I mean, I catalog my dreams. I have a lot of UFO dreams. Nice. I write them in that book, and they're powerful. They're very powerful.
Is it the beats that you're talking about, where you're listening to the ambience of it, right? And you're focusing within it, almost like yoga, right? Where you're kind of taking in you're taking in the beat, right? And you're kind of putting yourself with the beat, right? And it puts you in a different place, like you said, right? And it's almost like, do you believe that maybe, have you ever heard of remote viewing, how they used to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think that maybe that's a sort of a way to tap into remote viewing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Robert Monroe was at his institute, was studying and exploring this and publishing. The CIA got very interested, and it is definitely a way of remote viewing. And what's interesting is that you don't have to try, because the binaural beats are happening. Right. Or let's say I've been attending gong yoga, and I've been attending sound baths. So a sound bath is you lie down on a mat, and they have sound bowls and chimes, and they basically, the guide talks over it. It's kind of like a Buddhist meditation, but then he plays the sound bowls. The vibrations wash over you.
Wow.
You're not even thinking about it. I'm having conversations with entities that are talking to me. And this is not just me. This is something that many people experience. I've become very interested in that kind of stuff. And, yes, psychedelics is one way. Some people just have incredible experiences that, and you, as we talked before, some people they're kind of magnets.
Right.
They see a UFO, they see a UFO again. They see owls. They begin to. It's almost as if you've been tapped, and you're paying attention, and now you see it. Right. Perhaps it was always there.
Right. It's like I always say, once you see them, you can't unsee them anymore. It's almost like it's like something opens up a spark in your brain or something to where you're just like, oh, I'm awake now, in a sense to where, okay, now I've seen one. And me personally, I have seen several, UFOs, things like that. And, like you just talked about people that are like magnets. My sister's one of them. And, she... these things happen in her house all the time. These spirits, she sees UFOs too. I mean, it's kind of, it's not crazy, but it's weird how it just kind of taps into your mind. Once you see one, it's like you said, like a veil kind of unveils itself, right? And you're actually looking at what's right there in front of you. Now, do you think like maybe have you heard of a DMT? How they've been kind of using that to tap into your pineal gland and it puts you in a different, like they're literally seeing the aliens, little workers.
Yeah, and DMT occurs naturally in the brain.
Yes, it does. Interestingly,
it's already there in the brain, and this is there are tribes in the Amazon that have been taking this sacred, ayahuasca, have been consuming it in a very sacred way, and it's a tradition. It's very respected. And guess what? Interestingly, what are one of the tools that are used to guide? It's the songs. I don't know if I say it correctly. The Icaros. And so the shaman sings a song, and the song takes you on a journey. And it takes you to, there are many kinds of experiences that people have, but as I had said before, you're often taken to a place where you encounter beings that are far more intelligent than we are and have great knowledge about the universe. Now, someone could say, well, you're making, this is stuff that the drug is doing it.
Right.
I don't agree with that. Because you can have these experiences in many, many ways. You can have it through binaural beats. You can have it through meditation. You can have it through, you can have telepathic experiences. What I think we're beginning to see is the community is beginning to constellate these things as similar and related.
Right.
The phenomena isn't one thing. It's not a one-trick pony. It's a multi-spoked thing that comes together in ways that, and there are books that, bring together different disciplines.
Right.
People that are, interested in psychedelic research. I mean, people that are doing serious psychedelic research, not just goofing around.
Right.
People that are interested in telepathy. People that do remote viewing. Some people feel, Dean Radin, leads the Noetic Institute. He says this is all just different parts of the same thing.
Right.
That we're penetrating space-time, and there's interdimensional. We're suffusing through interdimensional reality. Right. That's here at all times. I mean, even our science is saying this now, that there are, perhaps an infinite amount of dimensions that are here right now that are, suffusing our reality, but we're not seeing it. Maybe we see it when we dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we see it when we pay attention. Something taps us on the shoulder. Sometimes it's by accident. My journey began by accident. I started to do research. I found a book. I became obsessed. I went down the rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. And I'm lucky too, because here in New York City, I've been attending these anomalous conferences, and they've been amazing. So Jay Christopher and James Iandoli have been running these amazing conferences, and they bring people like Leslie Keane, Jeffrey Kripal, Diana Pasulka, Josh Cutchin, people all I'm sure on this podcast know very well.
Right.
And so I've had the benefit of hearing these lectures, listening to them, and they're kind of I'm not the one innovating this idea. I'm trying to put it in a narrative form.
Right.
So that Joe Blow can read it.
Right.
And it's not just for the ufologists, because a lot of people hear ufology, they hear UFO, they giggle. What's really going on here is what you're really exploring is the deepest questions of human existence. Now, if you're not interested, that's cool. I was a philosophy major. You study things like, what is consciousness?
Right.
What is the purpose of existence? You study things, you look, so the universe began at the Big Bang. What was before that?
Right.
For as far as our telescopes can see, and as far as they could see, right, there are something like 200 trillion billion stars.
Mm-hmm.
There are more stars than there's grains of sand in all of the oceans on the Earth.
And it keeps on growing. It doesn't stop. It's still growing as it's going. It hasn't stopped. So,
right.
And that's the deepest part of that, because it's like now we get to understand. Okay, these things that we see as UFOs or aliens or things like that, they're not. I mean, who's not to say that they're not from way out there? You know what I mean? And they're coming this way, and they've been around for before our time. They've evolved even faster than that. But and getting back to your book just a little bit, the synopsis of the storyline, talk about these boys, their adventures, and what they've done. I just kind of put a picture up there, but just kind of give us a little outline, of what they're about, and what's going in their minds in this story. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. I think so. This comes. We write from experience. And where I grew up, I grew up in the projects of New York City, and I don't know what that means to the rest of the country, but it's kind of lower income. Let's put it that way. Okay. And we were, we did not have remarkable backgrounds. We were, I would say, largely uneducated, but very curious, and to some degree, that gave us a lot of opportunity to be very open-minded.
Right.
And I think the character Squid, who's really, he's a friend, and he says, my friend Lance said, you got to stop using my name in stories, really. Because, now everybody knows.
Right.
And I just say, Lan, it's just fiction. It's fiction. Tell your sister, tell everyone it's fiction.
Right.
But I think as young people, I listened to Yes, for example.
Great band.
And I'm now 57 years old, and we were 14 and we were listening to great music. I can confirm now at 57, that is great music. We had good taste. We just didn't know it.
Right.
We were just listening to rock music, and there was so much information. Think about it too, Donald, in music of that time. It was inspired by all that was going on. It was inspired by the psychedelics. Yes. It was inspired by experimentation.
Right.
There was pop music. You could do something experimental. You can have wild Moog synthesizers. You can have classical instruments. You could create this kind of interstellar space vision, like the way Yes did, for example. It's not so much the case anymore, and I don't want to be a curmudgeon to say, well, back in my time we had the greatest music.
Yeah.
And it's just that we were lucky in the time that in the culture there was a lot of experimentation, and I think that what was also important about the relationship is the friendship.
Yes.
Here are two kids, we're like kind of nothings. We see ourselves that way.
Right.
And here we are, we're standing on a roof in the project, and we see the Manhattan skyline. It's brilliant. It's lit up, and the buildings looked like diamonds and jewels, and we were gifted. We were gifted by our experience. Yeah, love that. I mean, literally from my third floor apartment, I could see the Empire State Building.
Right on.
I could look out and I could see the whole, and it's a thing to behold. And I think that was very important to show relationships. I wanted to,
right,
and to show the arc of those relationships. And one of the stories, there's a near-death experience. You know, you have a gun put up to your head.
Right.
Man, if that doesn't bring you to a place of finality, if that doesn't bring you face to face with your entire existence being put on the head of a pin, and if that isn't the phenomena, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people, when that stuff happens to them in real life as well, they literally see their life flash before their eyes. You know, they always say that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody says that when they've gone in that same place what you just talked about right now, like a gun to the head. You know, your mind just starts thinking of everything that has passed in your life, right? Like, it's going to end right here, and this is going to be my epiphanal moment that's gonna be gone. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen after this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the scary part about it, right?
And that was based on something that did happen, and I think I was probably 13, and I had a cassette. You know, back in the old days, you had a boombox, and I had all my great tapes. You know, Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, and then guy put a gun up to my head, and he wanted my radio, and all I could think of, Donald, was my dad saying, "Don't take your radio. They're going to steal it. They're going to take it." It was kind of a tough neighborhood, rough and tumble.
Wow.
And I didn't give him the radio, and it's not because I'm so brave. It's because I thought about my dad and his warnings, and I thought about the music.
Right.
But I went silent. You know, I wasn't able to speak for a day or two. I just kind of was shut down.
Yeah. Well, that's just.
But I put that.
Go ahead.
It's scary.
Yeah,
I was going to say that the reason I put that in there is also the music has hints and bits of, you know, there are sounds and voices. It's like it's the phenomena trying to communicate to us. And especially if you take a substance, you're very open to that communication.
Right. So, and it puts you in a different place, because you're describing a lot of things that they're seeing, like the trees that are moving, and they look like different shapes, and you know, I mean, you're explaining it very well. I mean, where I can picture it while I'm reading it, and that's what makes a great book. You know, that's really, great. In reality, you know, great writing makes a great book. You know, and your writing is right on point, brother. And I'm not just saying it just because you're here on the show, but I really enjoyed it. That was the first time ever me reading any of your books, any of your stuff. This is the very first time, and you know, it put me in that place to where I was like, man, I remember doing stuff like that as a kid, you know what I mean? I mean, not that bad, but stuff that I was supposed to do, and you know, maybe we saw some stuff that we weren't supposed to see, you know, but it was kids growing up in a time, you know, to where you were, like you talked about, you know, 70s, things like that, when it started, and everything kind of takes off from there, right? And you're just kind of going with the flow, and then you start growing up as an adult later. Now, you in the book, you mentioned the dad role, and he ends up talking about SETI, right? The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? So kind of explain that, why you put that in there.
Because... So it is, you know, and always there are bits of things that come from true scenarios. You know, any writing usually comes from something. You know, The Lord of the Rings was based on J.R.R. Tolkien's experiences in war.
Right.
I did watch Cosmos with my father. He was a big fan of science documentaries, and he would be very interested in what I'm writing here.
Right.
I know he would.
Nice.
I would say I wanted to have a character. I was putting words in his mouth, that a character that's saying, this is the mainstream. SETI is very mainstream.
Right.
When you think about how they're going about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And, they're looking up with a telescope, but man, they're not looking at anything else around. There's so many hints. There's so much information right in front of us.
Right.
There's, you listen to I think I put in the book as well, the sound of birds.
Right.
The complex, interesting sound of birds. We don't listen to that, I don't think, well enough as a culture.
Right.
Western culture. We don't pay attention to those things. The sounds of the ocean. The experiences that people have. When people tell you, you look at some people that are talking about their experiences, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're housewives, they're people that have everything to lose by talking about this stuff.
Exactly.
Why would they talk about it?
Exactly.
Why would you? Is SETI interested in that? No. They're kind of doing. It's interesting because you look at how Carl Sagan constructed that program, and he said his idea was, well, let's look at Earth-like planets, the star that's like the sun, and a planet that's about as far from the sun as the Earth is. Why should we think that life would be identical to life on Earth?
Right.
Why couldn't it be something completely radically different? And we only have one biology study, and that's the study of DNA on Earth.
Right.
We don't know. I understand we don't have more information. What I find disappointing, and why I put it in the book, is it's a mainstream way to look at this. Can't you think out of the box? Can't you open the paradigm, explore the paradigm? I think there's a ton of stuff going on right now, and I think with since the New York Times article that Leslie Keene put out, I think it has normalized some of this conversation. There are documentaries on Prime. I watched yours, I think, on Apple TV. There are other documentaries on the various streaming services. People are now looking at this in a very serious way.
Right.
And it's become more mainstream. So that's why I put that, just to get back to that, I wanted to create some tension between, and I didn't want the narrator to know it all. I wanted the narrator to sometimes be dopey,
right.
To be honest with you.
Right.
To not know it all, for all we know.
Right.
Because we don't know it all.
It's true.
I mean, how could we think we know it all? Einstein didn't know it all.
Right.
Newton didn't know it all. And these are guys way smarter than I am, that's for sure. I think keeping an open mind to the shift in science and the expansion of science. I love what John Keel said, that the future of science will be something like shamanism. It will include spirituality. It won't exclude it.
Right. Well, I mean, we had somebody out there saying, honestly, I think the new generation are more accepting of everyone. I think that the generation has their charms, right? Of course, just that's what it is. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's true. I think that I think the way information gets disseminated now, it's mainstream has become bifurcated. Not even bifurcated. There are multiple avenues of where you're getting information. I mean, that's both good and bad. People are coming to look within to trust the source.
Right.
Look within and do your own exploration.
Right.
If science tells us anything, it says that it's a moving target. And that's what true science is. It should not be. There's a book. He was a Steven Weinberg. He's a Nobel Prize winning physicist. Again, genius compared to me, right? He wrote a book called Dreams of a Final Theory. And I thought to myself, that is such a dumb title. That's such a dumb concept. Why would you think we'd finally, if you have beings that are a billion years ahead of us, let's just say we think the universe is, we think 15 billion years old.
Right.
We think the Earth is 5 billion years old. What if they're 7 billion years old? 2 billion years to evolve intelligence, evolve science. Would it even be prudent to say that they understand it all?
Right.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I think it's a moving target. I think we're going to be in the position. People even talk about things like disclosure. I think part of the issue with disclosure is they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
What are they going to say? Well, there are things that occur. There are phenomena that we observe, we record in multiple modalities that we can't explain.
Right.
So that gets everyone's, they're all nervous now. Oh gosh, what does that mean? Are we unprotected?
Right.
And what does that say about life on human life? It kind of puts human life in a funny relief.
Yeah. And I've explained that, like when I talk about a past podcast I just did about the disclosure we had on a Brazil, an alien that they'd actually found the video to, what people were talking for more than 20, 30 years about something they had seen until the video finally surfaced this past couple of weeks ago. Right. And even if the military took this extraterrestrial and they gave it to the United States, we took it, brought it here, even if they put it out in front of us and said, okay, here's the thing, here's what we found, but we still don't know what it is or where it came from. We don't know what its consciousness is. We don't know how far back this thing has been here or how long it lives or anything like that. I mean, we're still going to be asking the question, why, right? Who, where,
exactly.
And that's the deepest part of kind of disclosure. It's disclosure, but then it's not, right? If you kind of think about it.
Yeah. I mean, no one's fighting with David Grush. He's out there saying things. You have pilots talking, Ryan Graves. You have them, and they're on relatively mainstream platforms talking about this stuff. I see religious or Christian. That's true. I think I hear what you're saying to that. I'm sorry, I wasn't seeing some of the comments there. I agree. It's going to pull the carpet from under people, and
yeah, it is.
Frankly, the carpet is being pulled already.
It's been,
if we really think about it. And I know it is a kind of frightening thing, and I certainly don't want to frighten anyone. And it's not like life becomes unreal. I mean, we still have to have jobs. I'm a father of 2 kids. I'm a devoted father. I'm a husband. The most important thing to me in this world is love.
Right.
And that comes out, I hope, in the book with all of the experiences and some of the darker experiences. Ultimately, it's about love. And that is what makes what makes life real. Is you can't deny that. Now, you could tell me there's evolutionary benefits to love, and you can tell me that there are hormone releases and that create the bonding experience that make us better mates and make us stick together and improve the evolutionary. Okay. When you lose someone you love, how does it feel?
Exactly.
When you lose someone in death, that is so real.
Yep.
It is the world come crashing down.
It does.
And so I think the governments and the mainstreams, their goal in general is to make you not look at your own spirituality, to realize you have the answers within.
Right.
The goal is to make you want more, to make you spend more, to release your control of your mind. Do you think that the TV and you think that the newspapers are telling you everything there is to know?
Right.
Read a comic book. You'll get a lot of truth in that.
That's true. Especially The Simpsons.
Right. Oh man, we watch that. I watch it with my 13-year-old and we're rolling. Yeah. I see there's a question. I wonder how aliens look at us, like children maybe. Yeah. I think Whitley Strieber, I don't know how to say his name.
Strieber, I believe.
What he says, Strieber, he says that the reason that the governments treat the information cryptically is because the phenomena treats it reveals itself cryptically, and part of that could be, and these are all speculations, we don't understand the message.
Right.
We don't, whether it's we're not intelligent enough, we're not evolved enough. If we think about for just a moment, and I'm sorry if I'm blathering on about it, but
it's okay. No, go for it.
we live on this beautiful planet. As far as we could see, it's the only green planet with life, with this plentitude of life, with trees, with oceans, with diversity and variety. And how do we treat the planet?
Right.
We treat it, we pollute the waters, we pollute the air, we eat crappy food. I can't curse on the program, right? Can I?
No, I keep it for everybody can hear, but it's okay. Okay. One will come out every once in a while.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to keep it a family program. And to my point, they think we're children. Someone wrote, and I agree. Well, we are children. Just turn on the news. What's happening? Wars. We're fighting over what?
Right.
We're fighting over. Religion is the veil. It's not really religion. It's control. It's money. It's other stuff. Maybe the answer is right here. It's right here. It's in the music. If you look in the deep matrix, it's. I think that enlightenment, and I don't feel I'm enlightened. I'm not suggesting that, but the answers will be more revealed through enlightenment,
right,
and through a higher level of consciousness,
right.
And that isn't achieved only by sitting on a mat and going Om. That's a way to do it also, but how do we treat each other? How do we treat the world? Do we hold things sacred? When we hold things sacred, maybe they'll say, and by the way, the they could be us. I'm not excluding that. We look out, but looking out is also looking in. It could be, there's something mysterious about consciousness.
Right.
Even our quantum mechanics is telling us that the observer influences the outcome. The way we collapse the wave function by observing, by having a consciousness. That is a strange concept. That is a beautiful and strange concept.
Yeah.
Somehow we are a part of the mystery.
I'm a big believer of that. It's like a mirror, looking into a mirror in a sense. It's as we are like, is that an image of ourselves? In the past, right, or in or the future, right, and we don't know what's out there. We've never traveled into a black hole or a wormhole. We don't know where that's going to take us, right? We don't know if that's going to take us forward or back. But what's to say that whatever is out there isn't a part of who we are as well, with a consciousness of all. What I'm trying to say here, what you're explaining here is the love, and to treat each other good and keep us together in harmony, because the music is like the harmony. We harmonize with each other. Exactly. As long as we are good and good-hearted people, and we treat each other well, but once the distraction comes in and you meet somebody that's horrible or anything, it resonates something different and horrible, right? So, and then you start separating yourself from that. It's like remember, we always saw that Memorex commercial when that lady starts singing and then the glass breaks, right? It goes to that shaking point, right? And that's what I'm thinking, that's the way awful people are, in a sense. It almost shatters you to go away from these people, in a sense. But if you work together in harmony and be together and understand consciousness and explain, like you're just doing here today, thank you for that, and explain how you came up with even though it's a fictional story, it's how you're tapping into the depth of it, right, of their thinking and what's going on in their lives and what's happening in your personal life too, that has kind of helped you open up that new story.
Yeah, exactly. You said a lot of great things there. And the reason, I wanted to write it fiction because I wanted to have a broader audience. I wanted to have and I also want the latitude to say what I want to say. I can pluck from things I've experienced. And let me look at the question. Maybe they're patient with us because, I agree. I mean, look at the way we treat the way we treat animals. They're in the zoo. Look at the way we treat. What regard do we have? I walk past trees in the neighborhood. In New York City, you think, okay, you guys don't have trees. We do. I urge you, walk up to a tree, put your hand on the tree, talk to the tree. Now, maybe not out loud because you might get looked at funny. But who cares, really? Talk to it. When you let your unconscious direct you, you get surprising responses. Right. You talked about music, and I think you hit it right on the head. There's even a book about it, Mysticism and Sound and Music, and he talks exactly what that the Sufis use music to kind of harmonize. Right. So you use a mantra to repeat something, and it creates harmony. When people are out of harmony, you said it exactly that way. You're jerky. You're kind of you say things out of turn. You might be cruel. Right. When you have harmony, you're calmer. Exactly. You're more peaceful. And look at what a lot of people experience. Robert Monroe experienced that in binaural beats, and you have many reports where people say, the children in South Africa, was it South Africa, mm-hmm. that the beings basically say, you're not taking care of the planet. Yeah. Yep. So perhaps they feel you're not ready to be in the Federation. You haven't evolved, and we certainly haven't. See, I would spend time in nature. That's so true. There's so much intelligence in the world around us. I think that's the test we fail daily. Right. And as governments, as society, we fail that test as societies, not just one. Right. When we get to a place where we have evolved, I know that's a far-fetched, and there might be people that say, well, someone else will take the power from you. Well, we're just going down a path of consuming the resources of this planet and committing ourselves to perpetual war. Right. If we want to elevate ourselves, elevate the conversation, and someone might say, well, you're a fool for thinking that. Okay, maybe I am. Fools dare go where angels would tread not. Something I'm screwing up the quote. Fools will go where angels, would never go, is the idea of it. And we need to become angels. Right. Right. Wow. Well, Mike, what is let's see. Somebody said something here. Right. Let's see what. That's the same message they gave for my daughter. They showed her the planet from a windowless ship, basically burning us. But she wasn't fearful. There was hope that was put into her. Beautiful. Right. Wow. That's beautiful. So what is next for Mr. Mike Fiorito? I love it. I love the way you pronounce it. What's next? So I'm working on a nonfiction book, and I'm taking much of what we've talked about here, but not in it. They will be in a story format. There will be still stories, but they're not fictional stories. They will be factual stories. Right on. And I'm talking to different people. I'm gathering inputs, and I'm doing research, which means, you know what that means, Donald? Oh, yeah. Another procession of books coming in, nice. Which is, look at how much of a hypocrite I am. It's destroying the trees and everything. But that's what I'm working on. I'll continue to do music journalism. I am a musician, and that will always be an integral part of anything I write. And my hope, Donald, is that by making it something, by using a vehicle that people will understand, that more people are invited into the conversation. Wow. Well, Mike, thank you for being on the show today. We really appreciate you for giving us all the insights that you gave us today. I mean, you tapped into some deep stuff, brother. It was deep. Hey, man, thank you. And I'm so sorry about all that mess up. I think it was, the powers that be said, this guy's going to talk about subversive stuff that we don't want him to say. So, but you were able to say it
anyway, right? And that's what it's about. That's exactly what it's about. Thank you. Like everybody's saying, they can't wait till your next book comes out. And I'm going to put links to his new book, which is For All We Know. Okay, sent me my book. I've got my little tag in there where I'm at, where I'm reading it. And cool. It was my pleasure. It says thank you, Donald and Mike. People are just enjoying the show. They started chiming in at the very end. While we were getting kind of deep and going down the rabbit hole a little bit. People saying thank you so much, for being on the show, for your present and future books. That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, and go to MikeFiorito.com if anyone's interested, and take a look at some of the books. Donald, you are a gentleman and a gem. Thank you so much, and let's keep the conversation going, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'll put all the links to your pages. People can find you on Facebook too, correct?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, Mike Fiorito, and it's the picture you used.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna after this podcast is over, I'm gonna throw the links on there and links to your pages so people can start following you. They can find your books. I think I found a lot of them on Amazon as well, and then you have your own personal webpage. So I'm gonna throw that on there so people can find you there as well. Thank you so much, Mike, for just, man, we love you, man. Great.
Thank you. Love you too, man.
Great stuff, brother. And like I said, we're going to peace and harmony for everybody out there. And just for you just being here today, I feel so much better. I feel really good, man.
Me too.
All right, brother. Well, hang around in the background. Hang around in the background real quick while I finish this podcast, and we'll talk about it after real quick. We'll see you later.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this awesome podcast. Mike is a wonderful person. He's there, and you can tell he's got a big heart, and he's writing from the heart. Even though the story, it's fiction, it's okay. But it's a great book, great read, man. I'm really enjoying it. Liz Jefferson says great show out there. Snackback says I'll be getting the book. Thank you guys for supporting him on his book, because you know what? He talked about a lot of research that he did before writing the book of the consciousness and the deeper part, because he had to tell this story in a different kind of way, right? To where you can kind of understand, like growing up as kids, and now most of us are adults. Yeah. And we can relate to the story. It gets a little dark in there, but it starts coming to light from the middle and keep going. So I really highly recommend his book. Thank you guys for just chiming in and sticking around and listening and getting all this information from him. And I hope you guys follow him on his Facebook. Give him a shout out. He's a great guy. Appreciate it. But I have to leave now. And all right, guys, we'll see you the next one. Alien Shrimp Podcast. Don't forget, catch us on X, YouTube, Instagram. We weren't on Instagram tonight. Didn't work. It's okay. So we're on X, YouTube, Facebook, all over. Give us a like, subscribe. All the bells and whistles. Go to our audio. We're playing live right now on Audio Spreaker. Enjoy us there, man. And just give us a like. Share it to all your friends. I hope you guys come back and catch our next podcast with Mr. Terry Lynch. We'll be coming on as well. And we're going to be explaining a lot of good things that are happening for the middle, and some different kind of stories that we're going to be putting out there, right? So until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
This is ASDP ufologist Terry Lynch from Oregon. You're watching the Mothership Alien Strand Podcast with your host, Donald Ledesma.